2020 has given us a lot this year, both good and bad, but there's one thing that I could never predict in a million years: a sequel for The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and yes, I am going to talk to you guys today about We Can Be Heroes, the follow-up film to Robert Rodriguez's The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. It is debuting exclusively on Netflix today, Christmas weekend. Thank you so much to Netflix for providing me a screener for review. Like I said, guys, Robert Rodriguez is back. You know him from the Spy Kids movies, at least I do. And the film is starring Taylor Dooley as Lavagirl, Boyd Holbrook, Pedro Pascal, and Priyanka Chopra. Now let me tell you something. When I saw Pedro's name on that cast list, it jumped off the page. This dude is in everything. This is the year of Pedro Pascal. Now, before I tell you guys what I loved about the movie and what didn't really work about this sequel, if it's your first time here at the channel, guys, welcome to Real James, where I go ahead and talk about movies and TV just like this all the time. So if you want to stay up to date with anything I do, hit the big red button below, subscribe, and join the Real family. Tap on that bell, hit the like button, and get loud in the comments and let me know, are you watching this today? Are you going to watch it at all? Did you like Spy Kids? Because I know I did. And of course, if you celebrate it, Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones. Okay guys, well, you know what? Let's get into We Can Be Heroes. Aliens are attacking Earth, and when they capture Earth's superheroes, the heroics, their children must learn to work together to save their parents and the planet. That's definitely a very straightforward tease for the plot, and really that's what this movie is. It's no frills. It is elementary, but it's supposed to be because this is targeting kids. So guys, that is the one thing that I can say about this movie, is that it is very much a children's action superhero movie. It's not Marvel, it's not DC, but I think some kids will enjoy this movie. There's a greater sense of imagination at play with this sequel because the visual effects are a definite upgrade from The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. And the story isn't too hard to follow, the action is grand, so it's eye candy for kids. And when it comes to the writing itself, like I said, it's aimed toward children, which is both good and bad depending on your age group. There are some jokes in here that just didn't resonate with me, but I can imagine children laughing at them because, guys, when I was a kid in elementary school, those kinds of jokes made me chuckle. So the next thing I really enjoyed about this movie are some of our performances here. Pedro Pascal as Marcus Moreno, one of the heroics, and his daughter Missy, played by YaYa, Gosselin, are charming together and individually. I don't know what it is, but Pedro Pascal is really good at being in that fatherly role. We saw that in The Mandalorian, and now we're seeing that here in We Can Be Heroes. He's so proud of his daughter, and he is, of course, trying to encourage her to do anything that she can dream of, and I love it. I think that this is a very good theme for the movie. Then there's Guppy, played by Vivian Lita Blair. She's the daughter of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. Yes, they had a kid, and the kid also has shark powers and water. It's pretty cool to see, but let me tell you, she was so adorable. I just wanted to squeeze her. Some of her moments, especially when she gets into her shark frenzy, were really childish, but they just worked for me because it played to that like fatherly bone in my body. I'm not a father yet, but man, I just loved what she did on screen. And collectively, the camaraderie among the children of our superheroes is pretty decent from time to time. I really enjoyed them working together to try to figure their powers out. Individually, yeah, they were charming too, but together they just help push the overall message of this movie. And that message is, you don't have to be a superhero to have superpowers. I'm sorry, that just melts my heart. And yes, I will admit, it was touching to see how everything plays out, and I think kids, again, will enjoy the positivity found in this movie. And when it comes to connections to the first film, there aren't many, of course, but it was cool to see Taylor Dooley as Lavagirl again. But oddly enough, we don't get the complete duo. Taylor Lautner doesn't return as Sharkboy, and the actor who plays Sharkboy doesn't say a single word throughout the entire movie. And in the effort of full transparency, I just watched The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl yesterday, and even though I don't think the movie is very good, I understand there's a little bit of nostalgia for those that saw it as a kid because it was just coming off the high of Spy Kids. However, Taylor Dooley was the best part, so it was a little disappointing to not see Taylor Lautner in this role because it's Sharkboy and Lavagirl. They're supposed to be together. So while this movie is a true sequel to The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl, you don't need to watch that film to understand We Can Be Heroes. But fans of the first movie are going to be disappointed that their favorite duo, they're not really a part of any big action moments. Now guys, we're moving on to the negatives, and that starts with how it appeals to adults. Unfortunately, We Can Be Heroes doesn't really work for me as an adult, and I can imagine it's not going to work for many others. Sometimes the best children's films really play to not only that younger demographic, but to older age groups, and this movie doesn't really do that. Outside of some political commentary and some jabs at the President of the United States, there's really not much here to take away from me. And while the writing here does feel tighter than the first film, clearly, I just think it still drags. There are several montage sequences that go on way too long and moments where the kids are talking a little too much. We see this in the beginning of the film where Missy is introduced to her classmates or superhero mates, and it is kind of cool at first, but it goes on for a little bit too long, and then those training montages, they're just a little bland. I don't know, there's a lot of cool visual effects going on, but it does feel hollow. And then I began to get really tired of this formula by the second half of the movie, where not only do things begin to get less interesting, but the movie tries to throw twists and turns to keep the audience engaged. A lot of that felt unnecessary, and honestly, it was out of place. I just really could not care for a lot of the different turns that the story took in the end, and even though I get it, there needed to be something else, like one more thing. I don't know if it should have come in that fashion. I didn't care for that at all, and honestly guys, that sort of sours the movie a little bit for me. So outside of YaYa, Gosselin, and Pedro Pascal, it was neat to see cameos from Boyd Holbrook, Sung Kang, and Christian Slater, but none of those performances or any of the others were too notable. It was nice to see them on screen point and say, I know that guy or gal, but guys, a lot of the acting here was rough. And that includes a really hammy performance from Priyanka Chopra, who plays the director of the heroics. She almost overacts most of the time, and even though I was willing to give a pass to some of the child actors, the adults should have kind of reeled it in a little bit. I mean, maybe that was the intention behind the script and the dialogue, but it never worked for me. And those performances only added to this movie feeling like a made-for-TV type of film, and that's really disappointing, especially since we know Robert Rodriguez can direct an excellent kids movie. Spy Kids, anyone? And the last thing this movie didn't do well was the fact that it's entirely too long. I began to check out and check my watch. The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl's length would have benefited We Can Be Heroes because an hour and 40 minutes is too long for this type of movie. I can genuinely see 9 or 10-year-olds get bored with this, especially because around that age group they're probably already in love with Iron Man, for example. So this was maybe not the best direction to go in. I think that if you would have trimmed back some of those montage sequences, maybe that could have aided in a stronger third act, but by then guys, I just really didn't have too much interest in the movie. So overall, you guys, Robert Rodriguez made We Can Be Heroes for a new generation of children who want to see superheroes outside of Marvel and DC. And that's fine. I love the fact that Pedro Pascal was brought into the fold because he works so well in these sorts of roles where he can just be very charming, right? And there are other performances that are worth talking about. The action feels bigger and better than the first film, and thank goodness there aren't any scenes pandering to 3D effects. But We Can Be Heroes drags, and once you get past the middle of the film and you get into the home stretch, guys, the charm that you found in the first half of the movie washes away pretty quickly. The writing and the story here are at times too predictable, and then when the curveballs are thrown, it's far too late and honestly way too jarring. This isn't going to be a movie that resonates with adults, but if you're babysitting or if your child needs a 2-hour distraction, you can throw this up and I think it will fill that void. But outside of that, guys, We Can Be Heroes isn't anything to write home about, but hey, we will always have Spy Kids. Alrighty, you guys, well, there you have it. That was my real review of We Can Be Heroes. I want to know what you guys have to say about this film, though. Get loud in the comments below. Did you have a little bit of nostalgia watching this movie? Or are you with me that this movie might not work well for adults, but hey, it'll work great for kids? Let me know down below. Smash that like button, and if you haven't already, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and help us get to 5,000 subscribers. We passed 3,000, and it's all because of your love and support. Next week is going to be fun, the last week of the year before we get into 2021. Thank you, Lord. I'm so excited to spend it with you guys. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.